Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to start this video with the words that will never get old. This is the news that should be repeated on replay frequently to remind people. And this is from the Master himself, who I believe said those words during his Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. To all of you who celebrate this day, because I know not all of you, but many of you, I want to wish you first and foremost peaceful and healthy Easter. Not just Easter, but let's start at least with these few days. And let's remember that we are trying our best to be the peacemakers. So with this, guys, because to be honest, this is the real Master talking, right? That does not talk from the place of fear or scaring people, fear-mongering people, like some others do, that call themselves masters. I have two articles for you. Both are important. There will be some noise here because this area has a lot of showing off motorcycles, so apologies. The first article is from Interia.pl, and this will be again what our new/old Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said. This will be in the title of this video because those are his words. War is real, any scenario possible. We're gonna go through this. This is a very important article. Actually, he gave an interview to, I believe, 5 different newspapers, international newspapers. And the second news, that is quite lengthy to read you, but it's also important. Let me see, where is this? Is what just took place, what our still president Andrzej Duda, that we call Dugopis, well, it's not really pencil, but kind of like a pencil that signs everything. He just signed this document. Poland suspends the treaty on conventional armed forces in Europe. So I want to bring you those two topics today. In spite of Easter, maybe tomorrow I will not record the video, but let's go through this, guys. So we are cleaning this energy. Donald Tusk. War is real, any scenario possible. The link, as always, you find down below in the description box, so you can read it yourself. Quoting the new/old Prime Minister of Poland, war is no longer a concept of the past. In his press interview since taking office as head of the government, he said those words, and he stressed that even his own grandchildren ask him about the outbreak of a new conflict. He also pointed out what worries him the most. So this is kind of like an introduction to the interview. It's a fact that literally any scenario is possible, said Tusk. He gave this interview to 6, not 5, European newspapers, including Gazeta Wyborcza, this is Polish newspaper. In addition to the Polish Daily, a record of the meeting appeared in El País, La Repubblica, Die Welt, Le Soir, if I mispronounce, apologies, and Tribune de Genève. So we have Swiss, French, German, I'm not sure, I think Spanish as well. The head of the Polish government was asked whether a NATO war with Russia was inevitable. The Prime Minister revealed that the fear is widespread. The fear is widespread, right? Who's creating this fear? This is, mind you, this is put out right before Easter, right? so Polish people can read it. So the main topic at the tables, because Polish people, like Greek people, like Middle Eastern people, many people, or Italian, we have all of this in common. People discuss the current events, politics, and shenanigans when they gather for the family gatherings like this. Because, you know, you run out of the subjects or fighting with family members, so you talk about politics. So now you have the article. You know the war is coming, right? Because Tusk says that the fear is widespread among world leaders, but also among his loved ones. Yeah. He noted that when I am at home, this is literally his home, when I am at home in Sopot, the city on the north of Poland, by the Baltic coast, even my grandchildren ask about the possibility of the outbreak of war. His grandchildren ask him about the possibility of outbreak of war. So here, is this true what he's saying? Or when they ask him, I wonder what is his answer? He will tell them, you know, don't worry, because we have a transportation. If anything happens, you will be on the plane flying to London or wherever, south of France. What you gonna answer those children, right? Grandchildren. Continuing his words, I don't want to scare anyone, but war is no longer a concept of the past. It is real. In fact, it started more than 2 years ago. What is most worrying at the moment is the fact that literally any scenario is possible. Yeah, there is one more scenario that probably they don't imagine yet, that they announce the war and no one shows up. Or maybe not enough people show up. That is the scenario. I wonder if they consider this scenario. He reminded that the situation was confusingly similar to the uncertainty of 1939. And now hopefully no copyright, but this music with this very low frequency vibes actually kind of sounded as a good background to this statement. He reminded that the situation was confusingly similar to the uncertainty of 1939. Yes, déjà vu. Those of you who misunderstood, pu is like poop, okay? That's what I mean, déjà vu. Déjà vu of 1939, how Poland was used and played the part in that conflict. And now he doesn't have to repeat the same history, but I guess he's already in it. He reiterated that although it might sound devastating, especially for people from the younger generation, it is necessary to get used to the arrival of a new era, the pre-war era. How disgusting is this, right? Although it might sound devastating. So like, I'm so sorry, it's so devastating. You're gonna die, you're gonna die, you're gonna die, right? I'm not exaggerating. This is becoming more and more evident day by day, he concluded. I honestly, I read you this, guys, because I want you to know how they operate. But even reading this makes you nauseous, okay? I don't want to say more. We must be ready, he said. Commenting on the transfer of 4% of Polish GDP to defense, the Prime Minister stressed that we must be ready. Europe still has a lot of work to do. Fortunately, we can already see a real revolution when it comes to the European mentality, he concluded. I think he's just talking for those corrupted politicians. That's the revolution, because I think as far as the farmers and regular citizens, thanks to whom actually those are in, well, to some extent thanks to whom they are in power, because as I always repeat in the comments when people say, but you voted for him, guys, don't you understand that those are chosen to be in those positions and the elections are rigged? Everywhere, not just in US. Tusk recalled the times of the first premierships. He pointed out that at that time, No one outside the Baltic states paid attention to my warnings that Russia could be a threat. The leaders discussed the European security community from Lisbon to Vladivostok. He called that his warnings were ignored. People shrugged their shoulders. Yes, a Pole, a Russophobe. Maybe they should continue with that attitude if that's actually true, but they changed their attitude. Tusk noted that significant changes had taken place since then, which he observed, because they're under pressure without satisfaction, he pointed out, to the example of Germany. Today, the main parties of the CDU and SPD are competing with each other to see which of them is more pro-Ukrainian, he said. Oh my God. What amazing, how amazing. Emmanuel Macron's name was also mentioned, of course, because there is such a thing as Emmanuel Macron's effect. It's like Mandela's effect, right? Ripple's effect. The Prime Minister Tusk stressed, that the French president wants to become one of the leaders of the anti-Putin front in Europe. So, yeah, Napoleon Bonaparte 2.0. Tusk drew attention to the breakthrough that has taken place in Scandinavia. It is about the admission of Finland and Sweden to NATO. Now, more from Tusk. When I was young, Sweden and Finland were considered models of pacifism and neutrality. He noted that colleagues from Stockholm or Helsinki sometimes have a tougher stance on security issues than old members of the pact. So those are the words. I think this is like an Easter wish from the new/old Prime Minister of Poland. Yeah, right? Nice guys, right? Déjà vu from 1939. Meanwhile, Poland suspends the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe. President Andrzej Duda signed a law on the suspension of the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, signed in Paris on November 19, 1990, by NATO and former Warsaw Pact countries. NATO countries announced such a step in November 2023 when Russia stopped recognizing the position of this document. The purpose of this treaty was to reduce the number of conventional armaments existing at the time of its conclusion and not to exceed the maximum number of units of equipment specified therein. The parties were NATO member states and former Warsaw Pact countries. It was one of the important symptoms of the end of the Cold War. When agreeing on the provisions of the treaty, it was assumed that limiting the number of armaments and providing detailed information about the potential of the armed forces and subjecting this information to verification would limit the possibility of a surprise attack and the implementation of large-scale operations. Depending on the size of the country, the treaty specified the maximum number of equipment in 5 categories: battle tanks, armed fighting vehicles, artillery, combat aircraft, and attack helicopters. As the law firm writes in an official announcement, the suspension of the treaty will result in the fact that the Republic of Poland, like other countries that decided to do so, formally remaining a party to this agreement, will not be obliged to implement its provisions. The bill allowing the President to suspend the application of the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, CFE Treaty, was passed by the Sejm at the beginning of March 7, Polish Parliament, this year, and then it was supported by the Senate. The President signed it on March 28 this year, 2 days ago, FYI, which means that it entered into force on the following day. So yesterday was a big day for Republic of Poland, because compulsory military training is effective and no more, what is the professional word, because I don't want to jinx it, yes, and the suspension of the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces. And then, of course, the article came out also yesterday from our new/old, I think it was yesterday when he said this, yes, Prime Minister of Poland, that we must be ready. Let me see if I have more from this. I will read you the decision why they did this, okay? But if you decide to read the whole article with more details about the what limits did the treaty set for Poland, you can find it down below in the description box. Polish decision on the CFE treaty is a direct result of Russia's aggression, which stopped respecting this international agreement when it was convenient for it. Already in 2007, Vladimir Putin signed a decree suspending Russia's participation in the treaty. On November 7, 2023, 3 months before the attack on Ukraine, the Kremlin announced that Russia had completely stopped recognizing the treaty. This is some mistake here, I think. 3 months before the attack. November 2022 it should be. Mistake in the print, I think. In response, NATO member states also decided to suspend the treaty. In Poland, this required an appropriate decision of both the parliament and the president, which has now become a fact. I believe I've asked about this treaty in 2 of my interviews, 2 of my live stream. One was with Andrzej Martianov and one was with Scott Ritter. I don't remember the dates, but I'm sure the next conversation I have probably with Andrzej or Scott, both of them, maybe both of them at the same time, round table. I'm gonna ask this question again. So guys, let me see if I have comments of the day. Yes, I have 2 comments of the day for you. The first one is from Stenka Karasin 2091. Sounds like the modern Polish army is a warm, fuzzy place, gentle and sensitive, wonderful. Too bad such armies are utterly useless for battle. Thank you. You leave a lot of great comments if your name is Stenka. Thank you, Stenka. And the second one is from Scott Watrus. I'm sorry if I mispronounce. 7649. Polish people must resist this drift to war. To do this, ordinary people must organize around protection of Polish youth. Yes. Guys, that's all I have for you today. In spite of it all, in Jesus I trust, because God is watching all of this. And we don't have to repeat the 1939, but we cannot put our hope into politicians anymore. And I think by now a lot of Polish people know this, that only the citizens can change the future. And with this, make sure to hit this like, leave the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you would like to join me on Locals, I mean, guys, honestly, the topics that are here, you know how it is. Please join me on Locals. It's a safe platform. So the link is down below. If you want to support me there, you can choose to. You don't have to. You can do it as well. You have my Instagram. If you are interested how I'm spending Easter and what my outfits are, if anyone cares, follow me on Instagram. Also, mailing list just in case. You have PayPal and I think Rumble. And with all of this being said, happy Easter, guys. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. Bye, everyone.